$965 million jury verdict was awarded this week against the infamous Alex Jones. But then the greater question of, can he even pay this? So Alex Jones' $1 billion verdict puts focus on bankruptcy mediation. Now, I could be wrong about this, but I think this could potentially be the biggest, largest verdict and amount awarded for a defamation case, maybe not just in the United States, but maybe all the world. This is a big one. $965 million jury verdict was awarded this week against the infamous Alex Jones. And so as we're looking at, well, this was a result of statements and misstatements that he made in regards to the Sandy Hook shooting and the victim's family, which resulted in what they're saying, of course, emotional distress, and his fans actually taking additional steps to harass these families for years and years and to actually threaten their lives, right? Death threats and things like that. So this was a very sizable verdict. And again, this was a defamation claim. And, you know, obviously for someone like Alex Jones, his response, right? His defense is going to be, well, freedom of speech. I have the ability to express my opinions, and I thought that the elementary school shooting was a hoax, and so I am free to do so. And, you know, when it comes to freedom of speech issues, which do seem to arise with defamation claims, there's a lot that goes into that analysis. But what my understanding of where we're at right now, that did not, for that amount of almost $1 billion, did not include punitive damages. So when we look at awards of punitive damages, it's usually what's added on top of the principal amount, and it's meant to be a warning for other people in the future, right? So if it's almost $1 billion, we're wondering how much more will be added on top of this. But then the greater question of, can he even pay this? Coming together to land a settlement may provide some monetary closure for the parties, and it might help to prevent Alex Jones from just going and, you know, filing for bankruptcy. So for those of you who are not too familiar with bankruptcy, you know, you file, you don't always get a discharge, and depending on whether you're filing as an individual versus as a company, you ask the court to either reorganize your debt or to just discharge it in general. And sometimes, you know, it makes a difference whether you're filing as an individual versus a business. But the question comes up with, well, if we can get claims that are not things like fraud, right? So a claim like defamation, if there's a chance that it's just going to be discharged, so meaning that there would not be any amounts paid to the actual families, then does it make more sense that the attorneys for the families actually enter into settlement discussions with Alex Jones to try to get, you know, an amount compensatory to their damages or what they think is fair paid? And so what that could potentially be is, well, you know, maybe it's not $1 billion because he doesn't have $1 billion. But from what we're reading and understanding, he's a very wealthy person, and he has quite the enterprise that's based on many different ventures, including, I believe there's like a supplement company, obviously the show. So in any case, you know, I remember I was talking with an attorney before this all happened, and we were just discussing, well, you know, even if he gets like a $10 million judgment or a $20 million judgment, you know, is that even really sweat off his back, right? Because even through this, his star, so to speak, the awareness of him, people who follow him, people who even like him, have continued to subscribe and to follow. And so that obviously helps him in the long term with his different businesses. But now we're talking about a real chunk of change. And I don't know if he's going to survive this one. Now, going back to the chat, what do you guys think? Adam on Facebook, some basic math for Alex Jones's case. He would need to sell 10 billion of those $100 expensive products he sells on his store to generate 1 billion. Damn, I doubt he could even produce that many units. So, you know, as a litigation attorney, one of the things that we have to consider is what happens after we win, okay? So after we win and we get that judgment, we get that verdict, okay? So how do we go and actually collect? So that's why we do seem to come back to the table oftentimes, and we do have a discussion about settlement. Even though the families are entitled to, pursuant to the verdict, just shy of $1 billion, we still want to make sure that they are paid, right? So if we can get each family 50 million, 100 million, although it's not the full amount of what they were actually awarded or what the actual verdict was. We still want to get them paid. We don't want them to actually, to file bankruptcy to try to avoid the judgment altogether. Yeah, real quick, you're right. So, the other thing is that he's going to appeal the death out of this, right? He's just going to continue to ask for the verdict to be reduced, and he might get it. And so there's going to be a lot of processing time that also happens. And that's another reason why we'll discuss settlement, so we don't have to go through that and wait for whatever's going to happen. So that's sometimes why settlement will be helpful. So I'm very amazed by this outcome, and I look forward to seeing what happens with this $1 billion verdict.